40 years of survival, hundreds of sessions, magazine coverage, and I'm still reaching for them today. And by the end of this video, you'll know exactly why they survived every studio upgrade, and you'll also know who didn't make the cut. So let's go. My name is Warren Henry. I'm a drummer, composer, and producer, and I'm the co-owner of Brownstone Recording Studio here in New York. We've been featured in Mix Magazine, EQ Magazine, and Sonic Scoop. 4 decades of real sessions with real artists and real deadlines. And I've bought a lot of gear. Some of it has changed everything. A lot of it is just collecting dust. And by the end of this video, you'll know exactly the pieces of gear I still reach for, why they survived every studio upgrade I've ever made, and I'm also going to tell you about the gear I stopped using. And honestly, that's the most valuable part of this video. So if you're building a home studio and you're tired of repeat buying, then this video is for you. First piece still going strong after 40 years is my DBX 163 compressors. I purchased these shortly after a vocal session at Unique Recording Studio in the 90s. And the moment I heard the signal running through these things, it was stunning. Because DBX's patented over easy technology had the characteristic of both FET and tube. Now for a VCA compressor, it's a simple design that's easy to use. It does what it does and it does it well. And here's why that matters. For the novice, setting a compressor manually can be hit or miss. If you're not familiar with how to set release times properly, you'll likely get mixed results. The 163 simplifies the whole process with a program-dependent attack and release time. One lever, clear instructions that you can't mess up, provided you can read. In a home recording setup or a commercial studio, the 163 and 163X continue to prove that you don't need to spend a fortune for a tool that does its job well. For the beginner, this is that tool, and if you can, look for it on Reverb. It's very cheap. Number 2, and I'm gonna be honest with you on this one. When I first got this, I wasn't so sure. The specs looked right. I was told by many it was the best, but I had my doubts. Why? Because a brother had financial obligations, real ones, and spending $1,000 on a mic was risky. But I bought it and I used it again and again and again, and it did not let me down once. Now, the reason it's still in this room after all these years isn't because it's perfect. Nothing's perfect. It's here because in real studio conditions with real artists who need to hear themselves clearly to perform their best, you can rely on this mic to consistently deliver. Now, you buy this microphone if you want a timeless classic in your mic locker. And if you're working within a budget, the only modern day option that comes this close in performance is the Lewitt LCT 440 Pure. Let me talk about something that doesn't get nearly enough credit in the home recording conversation, and nobody makes YouTube videos about them. They're not the most glamorous piece of kit, but stay with me for a second. Professionals quietly rely on these, and I've used them my entire professional life. They make everything else in your signal chain sound better, not because they're adding something, but because of their unhyped true sound. Auratones allow you to accurately hear the most critical frequencies in your mix. They expose any problem with your low and your mid-range frequencies, and were the industry standard reference monitor long before NS10s. These are amazingly cheap and perfect for the smaller mix room. And here's something to think about when it comes to purchasing Auratones. There's a good reason they're still around after all this time. They do one job and they do it well. If you're finding this content useful, please do me a favor, hit the like button and consider subscribing so this information could get out to more people. Back to the program. All right, I told you this was coming. I've bought gear that has absolutely outlived its usefulness or became obsolete due to technology changes or otherwise. One such purchase would be my Pro Tools HD system. I paid a small fortune for this in the early 2000s, about 2004. And that was because the volume of work that I was doing at that time allowed it to pay for itself. But by today's standard, it can't compete with the likes of other high-end interfaces. It served a purpose, it's made me some money and helped me do my job faster when I needed it to, but Avid's price to performance ratio doesn't currently justify spending money on any of their high-end systems. So, those are the three still going strong after 40 years. And if you take anything from this video, let it be this. Buy the gear that you need, buy from companies that do one thing well, and shop on the used market whenever possible. And if you want to know how I'm using these pieces in real sessions, drop a comment below. And if this video gave you a clearer picture of where you need to spend your money, then I've achieved my goal. I'm Warren Henry, and until the next one, peace.